Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us a special guest today. Her name is Daisy Paige. She is a phenomenal woman, and she's going to share with us all her story. She survived a story. It was trauma. It was very traumatic experience, but she's here today, and she's going to share with us all. So please pay attention, and let's welcome Miss Daisy. Hi.
Hi, WuRag. Thank you so much for having me on.
You are so welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. You're such a special guest today. I've been waiting.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
You've been waiting for me.
Yes, I've been waiting to interview you. I was doing the countdown on this one.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Absolutely. Just like you are a doll. So what do you want to what do you think the audience should know?
WuRag,
Yes.
hello?
Hello? Hi.
I think I lost you.
Lost me, Daisy?
There you go. You froze up on me.
Did I freeze on you? I'm sorry. Can you hear me now really good?
Yes.
Okay, great. We cannot lose this. We can't lose me here. We got to get this interview going, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think is important for the people to know about your story, Miss Daisy? Mrs. Daisy Paige.
I want readers to not lose faith and just to be inspired that, God is with you through everything you go through. And if you don't lose faith and you believe that He's there and He's going to help you through whatever it is that you're going through.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That's a powerful statement. What was your childhood like, Miss Daisy Paige?
Well, I went to church every Sunday morning and Sunday evening and every Wednesday night. My stepmother played the piano, so it was there for choir practice and everything else. Went to church camp every summer and participated in Bible drills every year. I actually won second place in state of Texas in a Bible drill.
Wow.
So I knew that Bible from front to back. From early age, I'd say 9, I became a Christian.
Wow. So did you grow up with both of your parents?
Um, I did. Well, I thought my stepmother was my mom until I was about 9, because my real mother was killed when I was 6.5 months old. So, when I was 9, I found out she wasn't my real mom. I saw a picture on the wall at my grandmother's house of this beautiful woman, and I asked her, I said, "Grandmother, who is that woman on that picture?" And she just left the room. And then a little bit later, my dad was there, and my what I thought was my mom was sitting on the hood of the car. And I said, Daddy came in and he said, "Have a seat on my lap." And he said, "Your mom's gone to heaven to be with the angels." And I took off running outside and I grabbed my mom by the legs and I said, "Please go in there and tell them that you're not dead because they think you're going to heaven with the angels." And so she went back in with me and he said, "That woman in the picture, that's your mother. That's the one that gave birth to you. Judy is your stepmother." Or I'm sorry, Joey.
Thank
Joey is your stepmother.
Yeah. So that was an experience for you.
It was. It was a shock, a reality shock, so to speak. Yeah.
Because she always treated your stepmother, but she is your mother.
Yes, she is. And my father passed away when I was 20, but yet she's still my mom, you know.
Wow.
She goes to every one of my daughter's appointments with me. She's a nurse and she's awesome. I couldn't do it without her in my life.
Yeah, she never treated you like a stepdaughter. She never treated you like an outsider. She treated you as she gave birth to you herself. Well,
Well, there was a time that was really funny. Was in the pool with some cousins, and one of my cousins was sitting on the steps with my mom, and she was pregnant. She was talking about how the baby was kicking, and I looked at her. I said, "Mom, did I kick a lot when I was in your belly?" And she said, "I don't remember." So it was.
oh,
I was about 8 years old, and I asked when they were in the back seat of the car. I said, "I just had an inkling that something's different. Something's not right here." "Was I adopted?" And they said, "No, you weren't adopted." So, yeah,
Did you felt something even though she never denied you? You just felt,
exactly.
"Oh, wow, bless her heart. She's done a fine job with you, her and your father." So tell me about your experience as a child. So after that, what happened? Did you have brothers and sisters?
I did. I have a brother and a half sister. But after I found out about my mom passing away, my brother started abusing me. He started emotionally abusing me, telling me that it was my fault that my mother had passed away, and if I would have never been born, that she would still be alive and he would have his mom. And he started sexually molesting me, and he said he was going to continue to be mean to me because it was my fault. So the first time he molested me, my aunt walked in, but she thought, it was childhood curiosities. She took us down and prayed about it. So I thought, oh, I'm not supposed to tell anybody, so I kept that secret, and he did that, continued that for 4.5 years.
Oh, geez. How did you get through that?
It was difficult, and um, I prayed about it, but I never stopped. At 14, I rededicated my life to Christ, and he told me, I want you to share your testimony. I said, but God, I don't have a story to tell. And he goes, but you're going to one day, Daisy. Um, my brother moved out, and then in the ninth grade, I was raped. And I was also drugged by another guy that asked me out, and I told him no, so he laced me with PCP and LSD, along with about 9 other girls in my school, because we wouldn't go out with him. And, it took him a little while to figure out, what was going on. My dad was a policeman on the case, and, they figured out who it was, and because we all told, "Well, the only thing I can think of is Tony." He asked me out, or Diego asked me out, and, we turned him down. He worked at the school store,
Yeah.
and so, they busted him, and during the raid, he pulled a gun on one of the police officers and was shot and killed. So,
Ooh, that was.
af that was very traumatic. After that happened,
Were you there
I
when
lost
that
it.
happened?
I'm sorry?
Were you there at that time at that event when that happened?
Oh, no, no, my dad came home that night and told me about it.
Oh, goodness.
But after that happened, I tried to commit suicide. I was just,
You felt it was your fault?
well, I did, I thought it was my fault, but after everything else, the rape, um, and then I was in the hospital, and my counselor had a meeting with my brother and my father, and she had me tell my dad, about the rape. So I told my dad about the rape, and then I told my dad about my brother. Well, my brother first got upset because the guy raped me. He was like, "Well, I'm gonna go and kick his butt," and I'm like, "Why are you getting so upset? For 4.5 years you abused me."
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, that was one time. You're just getting it mixed up with the rape. It's all in your head." And my dad didn't believe me. Or I think it was because he didn't want to believe that his son could do that to his own sister or, my dad's own daughter. He never told my stepmom, and I didn't find out until a couple of years ago that she didn't even know about it, about the molestation. So, yeah, she's like,
Father
"Oh,
was
well,
sheriff?
I'm sorry."
Is your father a cop?
He was a sheriff's officer.
And he denied you on that. Oh, goodness. So how did that make you feel? What happened
Um,
that day?
Unimportant. It made me feel really unimportant, and I didn't wanna be in that house anymore,
How old
I
at
didn't
the time?
I was only 14,
Just a bit.
um, and I thought he told my mom, and, she wasn't
Even aware.
helping me or supporting me through it, so I wanted out of that house so bad. Well, I ended up pregnant at 16, and 17, I had my first daughter. Um, and then I moved in with him. We got married, had 2 more children, but he was very abusive. So I'm thinking, "Oh, this is just what I'm supposed to be going through, I'm punished for something I've been cursed or I've done something that was very wrong. Why, God, are you doing this to me?" I went through a lot of, "Uh, is there God?" Kinda issues. Why is he punished me if there is? But, I still tried to hold my faith and prayed, and I did have a really good boyfriend in between the rape and the one I got pregnant by.
Yeah.
He never pursued me. He was very, very good to me, and I broke up with him, because I felt like I didn't deserve it. I sat on my knees and prayed to God to bring him back into my life, that he was so good to me and that I denied him.
You weren't used to that. Right.
And you know what?
Treatment. Right.
God brought him back to me. He came back to me and he helped me move out of my house and into an apartment, got me settled with my kids and everything. And one day after I got off work, I came home and he was just gone. No goodbye, no nothing.
There you go.
And I asked God, I said, "Why did you send him away, or why did you take him away?" And he said to me, "His job was done. He got you out of a bad situation that you would have never gotten out of." So he was my one of my earth angels. And there are earth angels here among us.
Absolutely.
I've ran into a few of them, thank goodness.
Yes. 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 Me too. And I've
But
angels to some people as well.
um, shortly after that, it was Christmas time, so it was gonna be my first time with the kids alone on Christmas,
Hmm.
making $8 an hour, trying to pay the bills and take care of 3 kids, not making the bills. How am I gonna support them and provide for Christmas, And I prayed to God. I said, "They know the meaning of Christmas, but all I would love for Christmas is to see the joy on their faces." Well, do you know, a couple days after that prayer, there was the doorbell rang, and I went to the door and there was no one there, but there was a bicycle and there was about 3 bags of toys and clothes. And a couple more days later, another knock at the door, and there was a lady out there with another bicycle and some more gifts. And I said, "Did you bring some stuff the other day?" And she said, "No, I didn't. I'm just delivering this from an anonymous donor." And I knew who it was. It was God. He answered my prayer. He provided for me and my children.
Look at God.
And
What?
it was the best Christmas, even with their father, it was the best Christmas that I have ever seen them have, and the joy on their faces was just a delight. I even had to put some of the gifts away for, like, birthdays, you know?
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, after that, I decided I needed to change. I'm from Texas, and I lived in this small town my whole life, and every time I try to leave this town, I'm gone no longer than 4.5 years, and something always drags me back, some sort of tragedy or something.
Oh my goodness.
But I went to join the Army, and during basic training, I tore my knee, so I didn't quite make it.
You
I
think it's
went through physical therapy, and I met someone in physical therapy, and we talked about Christianity and our religion, and, we had some really deep, great conversations. And, he lived upstate New York, so I went up there to visit when we got out of the Army. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful place I had ever seen.
oh,
So we went to Texas and we grabbed my children and we moved up there. It was the best 4.5 years, I can tell you that. And even my kids, they tell me to this day, they loved living there,
Oh,
meeting new people. The scenery was beautiful, but in the snow, they loved the snow. I didn't, but they did.
right. But the lights and the glitz and the glamour, they loved it.
Well, we lived uphill. Our driveway was all uphill, and it was about half a mile long, so they had a long ways to go sledding, and
Yes.
they would slide to the bus stop, and
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness.
But 4.5 years with this man, he never was abusive to me. And then one night he just, I don't know, a switch went off or something. He snapped over something really small about our dogs, and he hit me over the head with a ceramic bowl.
What?
Yeah, and fractured my skull. And I was leaking cerebral fluid from my brain. I almost didn't make it. I was unconscious for a couple of days. And when I woke up, my best friend that I had met there, she was sitting in my hospital room, and the first thing I said was, "Where are my kids?" She said, "They're with the preacher and his family." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so I know they're taken care of." So the preacher flew my youngest two children home back to Texas. And they had someone flown up from Texas to drive me in the U-Haul back with my oldest daughter. I was in the hospital for almost a month though. So
Easy. Did you marry him?
no,
Oh goodness. Thank God.
I know. But I got back home, and I'm happily married now for 12 years, and my husband now is the one that helps me unload our U-Haul when we got back.
That's an angel.
I've known him since I was 5 years old. So we've known each other for 44 years,
For the one, Daisy.
right there in front of me the whole time.
That's right. Well, you had to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right. His mother, it was so funny. In 2000, he was in for Christmas, and we went to the grocery store. It was the same year that God sent the gifts. He helped me put the toys together for the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But he and I went to the grocery store, and his mom was there in front of us in line, and he said, um, she's she said to the cashier, she said, "Don't they make a cute couple?" And I said, "Trish, we are not a couple. We are just friends." And she said, "But one of these days, you'll see. One of these days." And she was so right. She said, "Mom knows best." But and then in 2010 or 2008, when I came back from New York, we ended up together, and we went to her house, and she was so happy. She said, "I told you two were gonna get together."
Well, how did that happen? How did you rekindle back with him? How did you?
Well, I'll back up a little bit. So it's a funny story. In high school, I asked him to the Sadie Hawkins dance,
Okay, yeah.
and he told me no. And I couldn't get away fast enough. Oh, it just broke my heart. He said, I don't do things like that." And so he did ask me out in 2000. And I said, "You know what? No. I asked you out before, and you said no. So no, you had your chance." And when he helped me unload the U-Haul when I got back from New York, he asked me one night if I wanted to go to the movie. I said, "Sure." And we mutually kissed, and we that was it.
That. Oh, and how many years ago was that, Daisy?
For 15.
15 years ago. So he was your knight in armor. He came
He
through.
he was. He was. I couldn't, I went through, I believe truly, WuRag, that I went through everything I did to make me strong enough to face what I have ahead of me. I've been diagnosed with that terminal condition.
Tell the audience
And
about that, Daisy.
it's called MSA, or it's known as multi-system atrophy. and only 4 out of every 100,000 people in the US are diagnosed with this. That's how rare it is. It affects your autonomic systems, that, you don't have to think about, like, your respiratory system, your, circulatory system, digestive system, things like that. First of all, it starts with mobility. So 4.5 years ago, I started tripping over my feet and falling all the time and having tremors, and um, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's because it does mimic Parkinson's. Well, there's two types. There's the type that does mimic Parkinson's, and then there's another type called MSA-C. Cerebellum is the cerebellum in your brain shrinks, but I have the P. And they say life expectancy is about 5 to 7 years from the onset of symptoms. And I'm in 4.5 years of symptoms now. Um, my husband is not working. He takes care of me 100%. Has to help get me out of bed, get me into bed, get me um, from the chair, wherever, to the bathroom. He has to bathe me. He has to fix my hair, wash my hair. My daughter fixed my hair today, though. But basically, I'm so dependent on him, and I couldn't do it without him. I
Because
tell him
before Daisy, you had a regular lifestyle.
I did yoga every day. I was so active. I could even do the round outs, where you put your feet over your shoulders and
The girl
basically
like I wish I could do that. Yeah, that was you, Daisy.
the plow. I did yoga every single day, and then I noticed as I was doing it, I started having like jerky, and I wasn't able to do some of the moves, and I couldn't go from one side to the other side very well, and I was like, something's not right, you know.
So Daisy, just to back up a little bit, when you left your abusive relationship, that last one, how long did it? Right when you were hospitalized, when you got out, when you left that hospital and went home, did you get all of your things together and leave right away, or did you stay?
I had to stay because the victim advocacy had to, work out things in order to get me um able to come home, to get the U-Haul. They paid for the U-Haul. They've um paid for the gas, the motels along the way, food, thing like that. So
How long
I
did it
had
take for you to leave?
the accident happened, or I call it the accident, but the assault happened like October the 21st. And I didn't get to go home until probably the 1st of December.
Were you scared when you were in the house with him?
Well, I didn't go back to the house with him, of course, but it was our house. But yes, I had PTSD. I didn't know it at the time, but I've been seeing a counselor ever since I've been back. I've been seeing a counselor, and she diagnosed me with PTSD because up there I kept, looking over my shoulder because his mom bailed him out of jail that night, and he was going to be charged with attempted murder, but instead all he got was assault and battery. So he only did a year in jail, and um,
He never
I'm
back on you again, correct?
I'm sorry.
He never was able to put his hands on you again after that.
No, I haven't had contact with him or anything. Thank goodness.
Oh yes. Woo! I'm so happy, Miss Daisy. Mrs. Daisy Page. I'm so happy. Okay, so now here we are. You moved on from that. Thank you, God. That's why she's here to share her story with us all. And you married the perfect man of your life.
Yes.
After being married to him, you've already had previous kids.
Yes, 3 children. They're all grown.
Yes. And he helped you continue to raise them, of course.
Yes, my youngest daughter was only 13, so he helped me through the whole teenage years with her. My son was 12, so yeah, through both teenage years.
Oh, that's beautiful. And then after being in this beautiful marriage, after going through your devastating childhood, and then going through the abuse with the boyfriend in New York. But between time, you met a really nice guy. He was an angel. Became your,
I did. Yes, I did.
here you are.
Well, I'll tell you what happened was we moved to South Texas after my youngest graduated high school. We moved down to the beach, and we lived there for 4.5 years. I rented condos on the beach. The property manager. 185 condos, by the way. So I had to walk these condos basically every day. So I was very active there on the beach. Hurricane came, destroyed our home. So we moved back to Texas, North Texas again. And I guess we're just meant to be here with friends and family.
You have lived, but you need to stay in Texas.
Evidently,
Now,
my daughter,
go
my
ahead.
daughters still live here, but my son, he lives in Nebraska because he's in the Air Force.
And everybody's grown, and they are just look looking after their mother basically, because they don't have to look after you, take care of you, because you have a husband to do that for you. But they are looking after you. You are absolutely beautiful, and they adore you. And your relationship is, you're very close with your children,
Yes,
and you're very close with your husband. Now, today, what is life like for you today, Miss Daisy? Now, you are in a wheelchair now, correct?
yes.
Because of
So immobile. My husband has to cut my food up for me, get my food ready. I'm like I said, 100% dependable on him. He does all the grocery shopping. He does everything around the house. I'm just here.
how are you coping today?
I still have my counselor, thank goodness. If I didn't have her, I don't know what I would do because she's pulled me out of some dark times. She's another earth angel, and I've been seeing her for about, well, 5 years. She has not charged me a dime the whole time. She said that God sent her to me. So,
I believe it, and that's the truth. Now, Daisy, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because I know that you need to get some rest, and I can't keep you long. But I do want you to share with us about your book and how the viewers can contact you so that you can get interviews and be on their shows, or they could reach out to you, buy a book, talk to you.
well, you can go to Facebook, Daisy Paige, it's Paige, author, and there's a link on there where you can purchase my book from Ex Libris. And I'm on Instagram, it's Daisy Paige 322. And my book is forwarded by Kirk Cameron.
And tell them who Kirk Cameron is. They don't know.
He he was my celebrity's crush back in the 80s and 90s on the sitcom Growing Pains. I had his posters all over my bedroom, and I met him in last October, and I told him that I had written him a letter and asked him to send me an autograph picture, and that I had his posters all over my wall, and he didn't send me one, so I gave him 3 months. 3 months I didn't receive a picture or autograph, so I tore his posters off my wall. He said, "Well, I'm gonna make that up to you," and I gave him a bracelet that said defeatmsa.org, and he said that he wanted to pray for me, and he knelt down at my wheelchair and he prayed for me. And I told him that God said I didn't have much time, but he wanted me to share my story from the beginning. And Kirk said, "Well, how do you plan to do it?" And I said, "I don't know." Kirk said, "I think you should write a book." And so I did. And he said, "Keep me posted, keep me updated on what's going on, what chapter you're on, and what in the progress is on your book." Then when I had it complete, he said, "Send me the manuscript." So I sent him the manuscript and he read it, and then he wrote me a foreword.
And this is the book right here on the side of Mrs. Daisy Paige. Unexpected.
Unexpected Moments.
Yes, and it's available now.
Yes. I started on it in October. I finished it in the end of January, and it was published March 7th.
Look at God. No matter what you may be facing today, you can still live with faith, and do your work. Do what you have come here to do. Because tomorrow is not promised to no one. But today, you can make a difference in your own life and share your story because it happened to you, but it's not for you, it's for someone else. And that's why I love you so much because you're
Oh,
sharing your story and you're doing phenomenal things that, like me, I take for granted. I've taken for granted to write my book. But look at you. You haven't let anything stop you, right? That's
right.
huge. What is your message to share with the audience today before we wrap it up?
I would say don't feel alone because you are never, ever alone. God is always with you, and He's never going to put you through more than you can handle. And if you're going through something, maybe He's trying to get your attention because you're off track, or is for a reason. There's something else behind it that you need to learn or that you need to share with others to inspire them.
How do you get through depression? If someone's facing depression or they're feeling down on themselves, what would you tell them? What would be your advice to them? Daisy Page, Mrs. Daisy Page. I gotta get this one right because you know I have to put the Mrs. on this one.
I say, give it to God. Just like all the people that harmed me throughout my life, WuRag, I forgave them. I forgave them all. Um, I gave that to God, and since I wrote my book and I've started sharing my story, I've started seeing things happen with people getting, um, indicted for things that for other things. They're being punished, maybe not for what they did to me, but maybe for what they did to me. Just God's says vengeance is His, so you just got to give it to Him. Along with your depression, He'll pull you out of there. Um, find a friend. You can always call the suicide hotline, but somebody is always there for you. You're never alone. Don't feel alone. Somebody's been through what you've been through, or even worse, and just always remember that.
Thank you so much. And right now I'm going to share. Mrs. Daisy Page brought up the suicide hotline, and I have that number for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you are facing depression and you're facing like you might want to take your life, please call, reach out right now. The number is 1-800-273-8255. The suicide hotline number is 1-800-273-2855. And if you are in a domestic violent situation and you need to get help, I want you to call 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, that number is 1-800-799-SAFE 7233. I want to leave you with a poem by Douglas Maylock. It's fine today. Sure, this world is full of trouble. I ain't said it ain't. Lord knows I've had enough and double reason for complaint. Rain and storm have come to fret me. Skies are often gray. Thorns and brambles have come to beset me on the road. But say, ain't it fine today? What's the use in always weeping, making trouble last? What's the use in always keeping thinking of the past? Each must have his tribulations, water with his wine. Life, it ain't no celebration trouble. I've had mine, but today is fine. It's today that I'm living, not a month ago. Having, losing, taking, giving. It's time wills it so. Yesterday, a cloud of sorrow fell across the way. It may rain again tomorrow. It may rain, but say, ain't it fine today? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in with us today.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Daisy Page. That's by Douglas Maylock. And I am so happy to have Mrs. Daisy Page with us today. She's absolutely phenomenal and beautiful and very talented. If you would like to reach out to her, her information, rewind the tape, just go back a little bit, and please reach out to her. She's available for speaking engagements to share her story virtually. And so, thank you so much. I'm Mawusi Ragland, known as WuRag, and we are going to send you off with blessings. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now.
That was beautiful, WuRag.